Good evening, welcome to the Goffstown Sewer Commission. This is a regular scheduled meeting for the second Tuesday of the month. We'll do our roll call first, starting with Mike.
Mike Chang, consulting engineer.
Daniel Taylor, Commissioner.
Tim Redmond, Commissioner.
Don Ball, Commissioner.
Lynn Pooler, Sewer Secretary.
Keith Canton, Assistant Sewer Foreman.
Corey Wykes, Sewer Superintendent.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Noted that the Selectmen's rep is unable to make it tonight, so we do not have a Selectmen's rep. Is anyone here for public comment at this time? I don't see anyone in the audience, so I assume there is no public comment. We have minutes from May 12th of 26.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 12th, 2026.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all's in favor of approving the minutes of May 12th, 2026, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Non-public minutes from the same day. Did we seal those minutes at
Yes.
that minute?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, we just have to, I'm just approving them now.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the non-public, the minutes of the non-public session held on May 12th, 2026.
I'll second.
Motion made, seconded to approve the non-public minutes. And they are sealed for 1 year, and we'll have to remember, if we want to keep them sealed, we have to revoke to seal them again 1 year from now. So, Lynn, I need you to put something like that in your calendar so
Yep,
that you know to bring them
yep.
up. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. New business, we have Danielle Becerra supposed to be here. Is she coming late?
She's going to be a couple minutes late.
That's fine, we'll come back to that. Old business, changing remaining pump stations to Mission. Corey?
Just waiting on numbers still.
Waiting on numbers. Okay. Moose Club Park generator update with Corey and Mike together.
The electrical engineer that I reached out to has reviewed the drawings that I sent to the record drawings for the pump station.
Could you explain what record drawings are, Mike?
The drawings that reflect the, call it as-built conditions after construction.
And that was done when the place was built or
Yeah.
recently?
No, that was.
Okay, so that's an old document.
That's an old document.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. But they would like to go out to the station and actually view it in order to put a proposal together. So, just waiting to hear back from them as to when they can get out there.
All right, so I'll leave that up to you, Corey, Mike, to make arrangements for the viewing.
Yeah.
Keith is involved in that too, no doubt. Okay, so that's waiting on a site visit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Elm Street Pump Station, Corey?
The plumber will be there the end of this week or early next week to replace the piping and try to for the waters where the water meter went. We threw a water meter in it and some of the piping above it actually separated. So they need to change a section of pipe above the meter because it still leaks.
And who put the water meter in?
Lee put the water meter back in so we could test it.
So are we paying for this, or is there some warranty charge here?
No, Lee had a meter and he threw it in.
Okay,
He took the old meter out and I don't know, was the meter bad?
Yeah, it was cracked right
Oh, the meter was cracked. I'll find out from Lee if we're getting charged for that or not.
Okay.
I didn't ask at the time. And we'll have the plumber kind of look to see, I think we can, one of the solutions we can take care of a little easily if that thing were ever to malfunction again is, number one, covering everything over the top so it can't spray. But underneath, they actually make them for drop inverts. It's basically, it looks like half a toilet bowl that you can put underneath that will catch any water, and we can pipe it right through the wall. Instead of hammering up the floor and all that, can go right below it and outlet through the wall and it's just clean water, so
Is it as a long-term solution or a short-term solution?
long-term
Okay.
solution.
Will that lead to more freezing risks?
It shouldn't, as long as the heat is on and set in the right.
Worst case scenario, you get a piece of heat tape and put it in the pipe and plug it in and let the heat
Yeah.
tape be on in the pipe.
We're gonna have, we have one at East Union. There's actually a valve we can put in line that has a sensor attached to it, and the second that it senses any moisture, it's an automatic shut off. It'll shut it off. Because in East Union, the boiler and hot water tank is literally in the old tank in the basement. So there's no way for water to outlet. It literally would just fill the entire space. So that's a good solution for Elm Street as well.
Any questions for Corey on the Elm Street pump station update? Questions?
I'm all set.
Rochambeau Street, Corey, this is what we talked about at our last meeting. We asked you to get something moving as fast as possible.
Yes, the Rochambeau Street, we replaced roughly 160 feet of sewer main. We did a little bit more than we expected to make sure it actually outletted that manhole properly. The work is complete. Everybody, the two services that were tied to that, everything's tied in, paved, all put to bed. And it's still really flat to make it all work, but there is pitch and it is actually flowing through that manhole a lot better now.
Anybody have any questions for Corey regarding that? There's an invoice in the, today's warrant that we all signed, so we know what it costs, and it is what it is. We authorized emergency work, it got done. And that amount is far less than the cost to repair someone's basement should it flood into their basement.
Went faster than I expected.
Yeah, I called, usually my first phone call is gonna be to DCCI, which is Dean Melhorn, and he always goes to bat for us. So I only had to wait a couple days to get him out there and get it changed.
Impressed.
Any questions? Okay. Next one is Mike, Cross Street Survey. I could not read the email because I've been locked out of my town email. I finally got into it and I didn't read the whole thing, so I'll let Mike fill us in.
Yeah, we got or I got a proposal from Sanford Surveying and Engineering to do the survey work for that whole area.
How many streets does that involve, Mike? Can you tell me the streets involved? You say the whole area.
Yeah, I mean, Cross Street, we already did Higgins.
No, Higgins would be included.
Higgins.
So the Cross Street, Rochambeau, Higgins, Plummer, Kermit.
So you better make sure he's got all them on his list for the.
They were
quote.
on the plan that I sent to
Okay.
Sanford.
So could you run them off again for us, Corey, slowly? Cross Sanford is doing the work. Cross Street,
Rochambeau,
okay.
Higgins,
Higgins,
Plummer,
Plummer,
yep,
okay.
Kermit.
Kermit.
Did we include anything on, we didn't include anything on Sharon, right? Because of the new main
I don't
goes
think
that
so.
way. What's the third, I can't remember. Now I'm trying to think of it.
As long as that's entire 2 block,
Yeah.
whatever that section of town is.
I'll look it up and
Yeah.
maybe it is Henriette. I'd have to look on the GIS.
We won't hold you to the name, so go ahead, Mike, please.
So Sanford provided a proposal to me for doing the survey work for that and producing drawings that we could work with for doing design work as needed. They've provided a cost range for the survey work of between $19,000 and $21,000.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mike?
You have that estimate in your packet as well. See,
Thank you.
it's got the email from
Yep.
Mike on top of it.
questions for Mike?
I looked at it.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Mike to enter into get a contract entered into with Sanford Survey to get this survey work done as a preliminary step to designing the sewer system down there for replacement.
I'll second the motion.
Any questions or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Mike, this is, in your opinion, this would not qualify for accessibility fees because this is not an upgrade, this is survey work prior to the system being restored? Are we going to upgrade pipe in the system, size-wise?
Some of it we can. Cross Street, we cannot.
Because it's already fixed.
No, Cross Street, we cannot upsize that pipe because we would, if we upsize it, we would have to change it from the intersection at Rochambeau and Cross all the way to Roosevelt Street, where it actually gets bigger than the 12-inch that's there.
So what streets could we upgrade in that neighborhood?
Rochambeau can get upgraded.
Yep, size-wise.
Yep, go from 8 to a 10.
Okay, how about Higgins?
Higgins, the whole area is 8-inch clay right now, and especially Higgins could be bumped up to match Louis Street, which is a 10-inch main.
All right. So even though the survey work may not qualify for it, if it's all rolled into one package, you might have to ask Danielle for her advice on funding availability at some point. Okay? And then I'll have you do that. We are going to upgrade the sewer lines in the neighborhood size-wise, which qualifies us to use the accessibility fees if we want. Okay? Motion.
Do we need to authorize your signature?
Yeah, you should have, if there's a contract there that I can sign.
I don't
Is
think
this-
it's something to sign, is it?
Who's the, we're the client, right?
Are we the client or are you the
For the
client?
survey?
You're the client.
You could actually do it either way. As it's set up right now, I am the client.
Well, you didn't do all this legwork for nothing, Mike. We expect you to be reimbursed for your time and effort, so if you would prefer to be the client and bill us, then
We could do it
you
either way.
you have fees that you have to add on for your time, which are just your normal fees that you would charge us for any other project. So why don't you just, if the commissioners have no problem, why don't we have Mike bill us accordingly? We can use it in our consulting engineer line,
Yep.
in our budget, just pay Mike out of that. And we voted to authorize the expenditure for the survey, which is, Mike will just bill us on 2 different invoices, or we'll pay you with 2 different checks somehow. We'll figure it out.
However you want to do it.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna let Mike sign the contract and as the client.
Sounds good.
That actually makes him responsible to make sure it gets out there, those guys get out there and get done, and he keeps talking to them.
Yep.
Which is better.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions regarding the cross-street survey work, the whole neighborhood, actually? Monthly emergency calls, Corey?
Nothing last month.
None? 37 North Mass Street, 3825, what?
That one is me. That is, you have it in your package. I got an email from Derek, what we discussed in the non-public last meeting. That has been resolved. The mortgage company paid the sewer lien, and we have a copy of the redemption
Perfect,
in our packet, so that is
Sewer lien
all set.
paid.
Yep.
which is what we thought we'd do, let the mortgage company work it out.
And it worked out fine.
Okay, the last one under the old business is Mass Road Map 5, Lot 54, that's me. This lot is the Park Place condominiums that were approved by the planning board. They are just south of an approved project that has not been built, just south of the Shell station. We had several meetings with the developer, Ed Monte, and his contractor, John Neville, and we worked out something for the sheet, for the plans, which are signed and in the plan set for the project. But we never really did much more than that because we have a certain amount of trust in the Neville Excavating, as they have always done work in town and we know their work and we trust them. So we never really got too specific other than what's on the sheet. One of the items was, as I remember, they couldn't even drive over the road, the sewer easement as is. They have to put down wood timber mats to cross the easement to even get in there before this is built, which is on the plan. So now I see that the project is being listed by Joe Boscheman as a project for sale. And I called the developer myself last Friday and spoke with him. And he said that whatever the sewer commission comes up with that is agreeable with them to add to the documents, if it's in fact it's sold, that he would be agreeable to signing anything that we had talked about previously. And if there's anything new, we would talk to him about it as well. It's a pretty straightforward thing, but I did not want to leave it as a handshake arrangement because there's a lot of other contractors that I wouldn't trust to operate on a handshake. So, what I want everybody to do in the next 30 days is to be prepared at our next monthly meeting with some written comments or what you remember from the prior meetings, the discussion, and make a list of what needs to go onto a document. Lynn, I would like you to speak with, who should you speak with? To find out if we need to do this through an attorney or not. Do we need to have an attorney prepare a document that would be filed at the Registry of Deeds with the plan as an addendum to the plan? I don't know if that's, maybe Joanne would know about that at the planning office.
So, do we need an attorney to prepare a document?
Our written document, does it need to be prepared professionally
Okay,
and filed with the deed in Nashua? Or what would be the best recommendation?
okay.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be something that would be attached with all the closing.
I think it needs to be right there in the packet, so when whoever goes and does the title search on the property finds that document and has to include it in any disclosure for purchase and sale agreement. Agree?
No, I agree.
Okay.
Just so you know, in the very back, you have the sets of minutes of all the meetings that we discussed it.
These are all of them?
Yep, there's
Okay.
4 of them that we had.
Did you get copies of that, Mike? You should have
Yeah,
done
I
that.
gave it
Okay.
to everybody, yeah.
So if everybody could just please review their documents, look at the print, make sure that we all agree on what was discussed previously, and if there's anything else that needs to be added. I'm pretty certain we discussed those timber mats as a temporary protection for the skidders and loggers and everyone else to get in and out of there, as well as the first round of construction equipment. Now, should they decide not to build the bridge until the very end, they have to protect that entrance with timber mats the entire construction time. They cannot take the timber mats off of the sewer line.
And it needs to be the same type of project, correct? Or they have to go back to planning board?
It would not get changed unless it went back to plan. It'll stay the same.
Yeah.
And I think we need to come up with, Corey, with a recommendation for the timber mats. And I think it should be, at the very least, a double set of timber mats with them in a crisscross fashion. That will prevent deflection. I noticed that the power company, when they do them, they use double and triples so they don't deflect under the weights.
Yeah, they did a double on my parents' driveway when they did all that work. And they had to cross it with heavy equipment for a month and a half. And as soon as they pulled them off, you would have never known that they were even set on there.
Do we want to discuss any kind of a bond or something in an escrow fund to ensure compliance? And this also needs to be subject to the building inspector or the code enforcement officer's authority for compliance. Because we don't have the authority, but the code enforcement. So somewhere in our when we write this up, we have to cede the authority to the code compliance officer to make sure things are done as in accordance with the sewer commission's written instructions. I know it's a lot for one night, but we need to really all start thinking about it, because by the next monthly meeting, we need to have something ready, or at least in draft form, so that we can get it to the proper people.
Would the third-party engineer that most likely would be out there inspecting erosion control, construction entrance, the whole 9 yards, would that fall under?
It should be all part of it, because it's not on the approved plan. It's not on there, because we did a handshake deal with John Neville, which we trust.
Yeah.
But I don't trust some contractor out of Massachusetts to come up here and start
What's not on the approved plan?
the timber mats
Oh, okay, yeah.
as a temporary protection.
Yeah.
I mean, we even had a verbal time schedule laid out that timber mats had to go down before the skidders and the land clearers even went in there. So there's stuff to think about ahead of this.
Yeah, there's more to it than just.
And it has to be an exact dimensional replica of the
Concrete.
concrete.
Yeah.
So if it's 12 by 40 or whatever that physical dimension is, total dimension, then that's what the timber mats have to be as well. Okay? So this was a get your head wrapped around it bit. Time to read up, figure it out, make notes, and we will put something together at our next meeting so that we will protect our interest in the sewer line, and the agreeable parties will have to abide by our design requirements.
When a project gets approved like this, how long,
This is housing, it does not have to come back for a
like,
renewal.
They already
they
came
never-
back once.
if they never, what's the timeline before it needs,
Their
like,
construction approval,
yeah,
2 years.
2 years?
Well, the legislature changed it too, they extended it, I think, out even farther, they may have made it 3 years now. So we have to look at NHMA's, we talked about this at our development regulations, the last planning board meeting.
They came back at the end of 2025, correct? Yeah, so they're good for a while.
Well, you see, they were held up because of the easement for the rail trail and where it was located, and it was down on the 114 corridor, and the first state engineer said it was okay there, and then when that state engineer changed position, the second one said, no, you can't do it. So that's when he had to enter into an agreement with the town of Goffstown to do an easement across his land for the rail trail to be moved up above where it is. So I think that's what's holding the whole project up.
Yeah, there was a widening, the District 19 has a widening easement beyond the right-of-way there. So the way they had it drawn it up, it was in their easement and they didn't want it there.
But I do know that I only signed the plan a few months ago, several months ago. It was unsigned until then, if I'm not mistaken. All right, we'll get off of this subject for now. But I'll expect everyone to have a chance to look at it, and we'll all comment and come up with something at the next monthly meeting. We'll welcome Danielle here. Danielle, would you like to come up, please? Get you in and out of here as quick as possible.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
How did you have it noted on the agenda?
I just put 2026 step increase.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yep. So, as you all know,
Just for the record, could you
Yes.
tell your name and her position,
course.
please?
Danielle Basora, Assistant Town Administrator and HR Director.
Thank you.
So, as you know from our budget discussions 2 years ago, we switched to have the Sewer Commission broken out into a separate article for budgetary purposes on the ballot. And this year, that I think served you very well because your budget passed and the town's budget is in default. So as it stands, the non-union employees under the town's budget, the general fund, are not currently appropriated, the funds are not appropriated to do the steps that we had proposed in the 2026 budget. However, the steps that were proposed for the sewer commission are appropriated. The funding does live in the budget as assigned by the voters. So I'm here before you this evening to ask how you'd like to proceed. There are several options, and the first one being you could choose to have it stay on the same steps to stay in sync with all the non-union employees. You could choose to do a July 1st, which is what we had traditionally done in the past, steps for your employees. Or the third option, and the one that I personally recommend because that is what the appropriation amount is to go ahead and do the steps for your 3 employees and have it retroactive back to January 1st. That's how we had originally designed it because we were trying to get ahead of the fact that the state legislature has been making several attempts to change the default budget calculations. And if a pay change takes effect after the start of a budget, they were trying to make that an exclusion of the default budget. So if we are able to go retroactive to January 1st and you do have the appropriation of the voters already in here, that would be the best way to ensure that that gets captured in the default budget for 27.
Okay, and is that, of the three possibilities, do they all ensure that the employees get their steps? It's just a different way of doing it? What is the difference between the three
So step
suggestions?
1 is no steps at all, keeping them in line with what all the other non-unions are getting.
No, that's not a possibility.
It's not a great option, but it is an option, so I have to let you know what
Yeah.
all of them are. Step 2 would be, or option 2 would be to give them their steps at the July 1st. So last year, on July 1st of 2025, they received a step increase. You could do a July 1st of 2026 step increase. And that would allow them to get their steps through the end of the year, and they would keep that rate next year. However, it wouldn't be in the full amount wouldn't be in the default budget.
So if we did it that way and the budget fails, then the steps would have failed with the process?
You'd have to find another way to fund it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we understand the third one, if we did it retro to January 1st, now that money is included in the default budget. Should it fail, then the money stays in there for the default
Correct.
budget.
Yep.
Um,
And it gets them on a new cycle of a January 1st going forward.
That's the new cycle then for the step payments?
It would be for this.
Sewer department.
Yes, for the sewer department.
And the
We're-
town was trying to do that.
We were trying, and we're hoping to try again
Yep.
for 27.
I think it's only fair to ask our employees how they feel about this. If that was Cory?
I would choose the retroactive January 1st.
It's a no-brainer.
It would be stupid not
Well-
to do that.
I think it's only fair to ask.
So thank you.
All three of you agree, concur with Cory? I'm sure. I knew you would, but just for a matter for the record.
And we are discussing this in public because we're talking about compensation of the department as a whole, as opposed to an individual's salary. So
Yep.
that's what makes it a little different.
I would support option 3. It's what was discussed in the record on all of our meetings when we came up with the budget. It's what the town approved, what our voters approved.
I concur that I think we should use option 3.
I agree also.
So Danielle, we'll make a motion. Daniel, please make a motion.
What's the motion needed?
Well, the motion would be to, I'll make the motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the third recommendation from the town, assistant town administrator, which would include the steps and have it retro to January 1 of 2026 in order to fund any future default budgets.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
Okay.
You set, Danielle?
Yep, and
Okay.
because that was my recommendation, I did have prepared the actual form for you to review and sign. And with this signature of the chair, I'll be able to get the
Implement it.
calculations implemented.
Today is 6 what?
9.
Thank you, Danielle, for your time.
Thank you. And I'll get the paperwork for the
Will you
employees to
copy
sign
that,
up.
will you copy that over to our office, please?
I can, yeah.
I appreciate that. Lynn can just put it in the file.
Yep. And I'll have all the individual forms for each of you to sign off on later this week. Okay?
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good evening.
We're down to authorizations, drain layer applications. Are you having anybody come in anymore?
No, I gotta get checks from Dino,
Yeah.
that's about it.
I heard, we just issued a renewal.
Yeah, finally. Anybody would like me to hold it up for the camera? How many months?
It might be Brown.
I think like October of 2025. Okay.
You're marked in Excel.
Oh, I'm in Excel. We took care of the AP warrants. Corey, do you have anything for tonight?
Yeah, I have a couple things.
Good.
So, we would like to, over at East Union Pump Station, do a little bit more work outside.
Where?
East Union,
Okay, East Union.
we would really like to get rid of the rocks over there. They served a purpose.
Tell us what you're talking about.
So the parking lot is lined with rocks to keep people from driving onto the grass.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a smaller vehicle, some of them you couldn't get through. We haven't had that problem yet. But they're a nightmare now that we have a good lawn starting to establish to maintain around the things.
Okay.
And we even had a little issue today. And I had an issue when I had to mow the lawn 2 weeks ago.
What's your recommendation?
I'm recommending that we get rid of the rocks and we replace that barrier, which definitely needs to be there, with like a 5-foot chain link fence that would go from the corner of the gate that we have now and to the gate by the building to the gate down by the water. It's 200 feet.
You mean where the bar gate is now to prevent
Correct.
vehicles from driving down?
Yep. And that will help also stop the e-bikes from accessing the lawn back and forth.
Okay. I mean, we know that we spent money for irrigation and for landscaping and hydro seeding as a commission, and I think we should protect our investment.
So will that keep people from going down there at all?
Nope. No.
Big
Well,
pathways to get down in there. You
okay.
can bring
you could
paddle
all,
boards and everything.
yeah,
down.
we've
Oh,
made
okay.
it to, so anybody can pass on the right side of that gate.
Oh,
It's
okay.
nearly.
It's just easy for them to zip between the rocks and ride down there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not even that, it's just, it's hard on the lawnmower to mow around all those rocks and then.
I don't doubt it. What are we gonna do to get them out of there, Corey?
That's a great question. We were talking about that. I'm sure DPW would like the rock. They're always looking for rock for their, when they crush that pile that's in their yard. They're always looking for more rock to add to it. I was gonna reach out to.
Well, hopefully they'll be willing to come up with a machine and load them up and get them out of there.
Yeah, some of them are pretty big because they were left over from,
Well, those can go over into the woods, right?
yeah, we can, anything big enough. I mean, a loader with a set of forks, we can grab them all. Most everything can, there's probably 2 in there that probably don't want to ship in a dump truck.
No, but you can work with DPW and see if maybe they would, if nothing else, be willing to come up and assist us with moving them out of the way.
Yeah, it's always something we can tackle on a Monday when they're not working. I can usually have free reign on a loader. They
Well,
don't
just
usually question it.
Do the best you can and see what you can work out with those guys.
My other thing with East Union Pump Station, way back in when you came up with that parking plan,
Yeah.
we have signage, the whole 9 yards. It's actually not in any RSA or anything to be able to actually ticket people when they park in the wrong spot. There's nothing to back the signs. I'm trying to figure out the correct channel we need to go through.
Isn't it private property, technically?
It's,
It's technically, it is the town of Goffstown's property, so it's public property. Town of Goffstown ceded authority to that parcel to the sewer commission. And that's all it was probably a verbal arrangement that, yeah, it's the sewer pump, you have the authority, but it is town property. Therefore, that's what predicated the whole fiasco with people going down there during COVID, with boats and cars and everything, until we put a stop to it.
I can ask at the highway safety tomorrow, we have a meeting.
Yes, and there's a couple other things that go with that, is we would like to have that parcel as a resident only to match the other side.
You mean down at the Glen Lake you're talking?
Yeah, 'cause it's resident only parking
To require like the
Dump sticker.
dump sticker.
to help keep,
Signage, so it would be resident only.
I wouldn't be against that.
How about, you wanted to find out about teeth for parking enforcement?
I had, Jackie actually researched it because we've been having a lot of people park in front of the gate and you ask them to move and they can say no and there's no
Yeah.
way to enforce it.
Yeah.
So there's actually nothing for that property listed in any of the RSAs.
Is there
For
signage
parking.
that we can post that would authorize,
I think it needs select board approval to be added to the existing parking RSAs we have in town.
I think for the police to do anything, it does.
so we would have to get the selectmen to buy into our request for enforcement on the sewer department property that's in line with the other enforcement policies.
Which would
Correct.
probably come through the highway safety first, though.
Well, why don't can you broach the subject of highway safety
I
on both of
can
them?
tomorrow, yeah.
And then if you'd like to continue with it, if we do need to make a request to the Board of Selectmen, would you be willing to take care of that as well?
Well, it goes through us and then the police chief does it.
All right, fine.
We should be able to, if we're doing this, we should include all of our properties. We should be able to
Actually,
tow and ticket anyone who parks in front of
In
our
front of the
pump.
gates,
in
yeah,
front of-
absolutely.
That's a good idea. We should, you need to formulate a list for Donnie
That's fine.
of all the pump station properties that should come under the authority of parking regulations.
Correct. I'll have that
I mean, you
first
can-
thing in the morning.
Give it to Don before his meeting tomorrow night.
It's at 10 in the morning, so.
Well, then you'll have to do it when you come in.
And I know he's up at
He
4,
goes,
so.
he comes in at 5:30. Get plenty of-
And there's one more thing with
One more
that
thing.
piece of property. As we know, the rail trail basically connects to our driveway.
Yeah,
So we would like to include our property under, because let me back up. In the town of Goffstown, there is no leash law. There is no leash law in this town. The only place that has a enforceable leash law is the rail trail.
okay.
We do have issues with people and their dogs, just coming down and letting dogs go. We had issues last year, people screaming at each other because dogs are loose. One person has their dog on a leash, other people don't. And some people next door in the new condos, we've had, people hide in the woods and just let their dogs go over and do their business and run back. So we'd like to add that property to that rail trail, because it abuts the property, and there's an established RSA where dogs have to be leashed.
So how would we assign our parcel to the rail trail allowance?
I think that would be, I can do
Because
some
the
more
rail trail
research.
doesn't actually traverse our property.
Yeah, we just abut it, because technically the rail trail is the end of our driveway.
And
the
isn't
sidewalk.
technically the rail trail the sidewalk
Yeah.
on our side?
Mm-hmm.
And we do have people that just
Our
park in the parking area and then they go
dogs
walk
are
the rail trail.
restricted from our parks.
It all depends on where you go. Like, if you were to look at Barnard Park or Roy Park, it says no dogs allowed on any of the fields. The
Well,
Lions Club.
does this go through highway safety as well?
That wouldn't, but I'll certainly ask.
I'm not really sure how that all.
Well, I think the fact that Keith's comment that they're using our parking lot to walk on the rail trail, then certainly we should have some protections under the rail trail rules. And I don't know if we would have to appeal directly to the Goffstown Rail Trail for an opinion, an acceptance or not. I don't think it's a problem. I feel very confident that,
Mhm.
based on our former sewer commissioner's position with the rail trail, that he would welcome that.
Yeah, it's all just has to be, I
I'm not
know there's
even
an,
sure who's in charge of the rail trail other than Parks and Rec, right?
They're
Well,
involved with
there's
the
a-
cleanup only and maintenance of the,
But the town owns it.
town does own it. So what is the rail trails?
It's
I
just
think
the
it-
Friends of the Rail
the Friends of the
Trail.
Rail Trail.
Oh, so they're.
They don't really have any authority.
No, I think
We'd have
the
to work
ultimate
through-
authority is the select board.
We'd have to
Yeah.
go to Rick Wilhelmy and the Parks Commissioners
Yeah.
first,
Mhm.
and if they are in favor, then they would take it up the food chain to the select board. All right, I'll call Rick Wilhelmy myself.
I'll call Rick.
So I'm gonna talk, this is Tim. This is Don. And who's doing the rocks with the chain link fence? You're taking that
I'll take
yourself?
care of that, yeah.
Or- Okay, so there's 3 assignments. You got out, you got free ride, you get to do another concrete building. Then you're on
Well,
that.
I have to talk to Manchester on the contract for that,
Hmm.
for the fall meeting.
You're going to be the represent us at the Manchester sewer? Oh, good. Okay, Corey, could you tell us about this pump cleaning, these pit cleaning things I got an email about?
Oh, yeah.
Could you tell us, let's find it in our packet from Kyle.
Yes.
Is it in here?
I don't know anything.
No.
No, it's probably not in there.
It was in my town email.
Yeah.
So I got it from Kyle from Manchester wastewater, so, or whatever they call it over there. And we have, how many meter pits?
We have 2 metering pits.
2 metering pits, and there's costs involved for cleaning metering pits. So could you, and one is at St. A's.
One is at St. A's and one is off of Byron Street, which is, if you were to go down Kelly Street, right before the Kelly Street Bridge, you have the apartment complex. That used to be a street that would wrap around that place. And down on the rail trail, there's another metering station right on the town line.
And what does that metering station read?
That reads everything that leaves Goffstown other than St. A's College.
Okay. So that is the end of our,
It's the end of the line
trunk
for
line
us.
Yeah,
Correct.
and at the interceptor.
at the interceptor.
Mhm.
So whatever comes out of the interceptor and goes into Manchester's system, that is where the gallons of sewage are tallied.
Correct.
Okay, so go ahead and tell the guys about, the commissioners about what the email is.
So the email is Manchester changed their guidelines on they used to get cleaned once a year, those stations. They have found that they get too much buildup waiting that long, so they're doing it on a quarterly basis now. So 4 times a year, they'll get cleaned at $300 a cleaning.
What was our prior annual cleaning charge? Do you know?
I don't even think they were charging us before.
So now we're gonna have to pay to have the things cleaned. It's our wastewater.
Correct. So it's
Yeah.
$600 a quarter that we are going to now pay for those 2 metering stations to be cleaned.
So it's
600 in total per quarter, 300 a station.
1,200, 600 to 18,
2,400.
2,400 a year for both metering stations.
Correct.
So I think it would be appropriate this time for a motion to agree to pay that because we have never paid it before, and I think just to cover ourselves, we should put it on the record. Are you making notes, Daniel?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let Daniel do the motion. And this is Manchester
Wastewater.
wastewater,
They
what do
hire
they
out,
call themselves over there?
it's Manchester Wastewater.
Environmental Protection Division.
Okay.
And they actually contract Wind River to come in and do the cleaning.
Do you get a report for that? I would ask you to, when you email Kyle back, ask them for, we'd like reports on what they find and what the condition of the metering pits is or whatever you need to do.
So they'll forward us the invoices, we won't be responsible for contracting it out.
No, they take care of the contract portion of it. We just get the invoice. to
We're
pay.
gonna have the invoice for the service.
Okay. I make motion to approve quarterly cleanings of our metering pits, as invoiced by Manchester wastewater division.
Before I second it, what line would we take that out of in our budget?
I think contract services would be an appropriate,
Under the pump stations.
So you want to assign that to contract services for now?
yeah.
With the funds to be
Sure.
charged to our contract services line item.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. So this is Manchester Sewer quarterly meter pit cleaning. 600 quarter, 2,400 year. Okay.
I have one more thing with the.
Boy, oh boy, you full of
No,
time. Go ahead.
come on.
The St. A's metering pit. Kyle St. Pierre and myself have been working with St. A's College because they have a serious grease issue.
A what?
Grease issue.
Okay,
Have been finding that it looks like a grease trap has failed somewhere in their campus. And the metering pit was getting clogged. But I'm on a routine to check it on Mondays.
well, what authority do you have as a sewer superintendent to instruct them to fix that?
Between Kyle St. Pierre and myself met with St. A's College 2 weeks ago to try to mediate this issue. They had Wind River came and cleaned their grease traps 2 weeks ago. We were supposed to be there when they were cleaned so they can
Assess them?
and inspect them. Because St. A's is following the rules. They're cleaning all their grease traps quarterly, but they are just sucking them out. They don't actually inspect them.
Well, I think that,
So we were supposed to inspect them. They showed up and did it, and didn't call us. Our contact was on vacation. So we're trying to get back with St. A's to, number one, find out where all of these things are and have them properly inspected.
good.
Are they concrete tank style, large concrete?
Nobody knows.
It could
Well,
be
I
like a
think that,
failed
I think that
baffle
we're
or
well within
something.
our rights as a receiver to be involved with anything that you request. And anything that's not done, then we'd drag them in here to the meeting.
And that's what I told them in the meeting that we had with them, that it's not just an us issue. And the city was really unhappy because the pipe leaving the metering pit going into that intersection at Rockland Ave and St. A's Drive, the pipe was 3/4 full of grease. And they had their back truck go and clean it out, like Wind River went a month ago and cleaned it, and 2 days later, it was plugged full of grease.
And who's paying for all that Wind River time? St. A's?
Manchester, that's our cleaning. Wind River came and did this new scheduled cleaning for that.
All this grease cleaning should be back charged to St. A's.
So we're not paying anything for any grease cleaning. Wind
Okay.
River came to do the that quarterly cleaning,
Right.
and then within days.
And who pays for the quarterly cleaning?
We do.
Well, we need to back charge, we need to prepare invoices from Wind River.
Well, that was the scheduled cleaning for that
All
station.
right, well, I'm not giving St. A's free cleaning of their problem.
No, Manchester came and actually ran the line and cleaned it afterwards. They used
Alright.
their back-on truck to clean the
Okay.
pipes, so that was no charge to us.
Well, I think they need to be advised of all that when you talk
They
with them.
know, both the city and I told them that it's an issue. Now, it's documented.
Fix it.
Going forward, you're on a borrowed time. It has to get fixed because you're getting all the bills
For any future
for
cleaning.
any future cleaning or any misreading because that elevates the water in that metering pit and makes it look like there's more flow than there is.
Which is probably why those numbers were big when we saw those numbers that nobody could explain.
There's
There
probably.
was a problem with the metering pit where the numbers were off, and they
Yeah.
claimed that we had charged them too much.
Mhm.
Now, another subject for St. A's, in discussions with Scott Ozana at the planning board meeting, Scott Ozana was supposed to be part of a pre-con meeting for the new building,
We all were.
and they were, and Scott notified them and said, you know, we need to know when the dates are, and they just passed it off. They never called anybody, especially since all their sewer's coming through our town. So I'm sure that you need to confab with Scott Ozana and make sure that we are looped in, and everything that goes on has to be above board.
I talked with Scott about this situation last week, and they had their pre-construction meeting. Bedford just never bothered to call us.
Yeah.
So, Scott is talking with them, saying, you're still not agreeing. It was part of the approval from Goffstown that we have a pre-construction meeting as well. So
And
I'll
I
find
asked
out
the planning
status.
administrator to reach out to the planning administrator in Bedford to let them know we were very disappointed with the fact that we were excluded from the pre-con meeting, and that we need to be included in the future. And because one of the conditions of approval from the planning board in Bedford was that the town of Goffstown receive all the reports for everything that's going on, to which there have been no reports.
Nothing.
We'll have to continue to watch that and push back. All right, do you have one more, Corey, or? are you
No,
done?
I'm done.
Okay, thank
Warren,
you.
huh?
Mike, do you have anything tonight?
I guess not.
You could.
No, we're good.
Oh, what'd you guys look at each other and wink and nod?
I was writing.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything that's important for this meeting? So it's time for someone to say those magic words.
Motion to adjourn?
There's a
Second motion.
Second motion. All those in favor, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you, GTV, we are adjourned.